But I want to thank, I will start with Peter Linen. He's a great friend. My son always, in the 12 years that you were here, Peter, he always wanted to sit with you. And for me, sitting with my son is an honor every day. So, you know, the honor is yours. And it is yours because you're such an incredible fellow. And I think the award that we give you, or the symposium decided to give you, is extremely well deserved. I thank you for your extremely beautiful service. I have a gift for you, which I will explain to you later on, to come along with your award. Where's the award, Laura? Oh, it's there. Okay. So, yes, as I said before, you guys took my speech away. I really don't know what to say. I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedules. I know, to come here and be with us tonight, some of you and a lot of you for the next 3 or 4 days. Particularly, I want to thank those of you who braved COVID and all the restrictions to come from far away. And you know, we have people here from California. We have a Californian contingent, I think thanks to Chris Glass. And from California, we have people from Pittsburgh, from Houston, from New York, from Singapore, I think, but it's so far away that Florent hasn't arrived yet. He's coming tomorrow, I suppose. And of course, we have people from all over Europe. And we have our great Greek doctors who grace us also with their presence. I want to say 1 or 2 things why we're here. What is this? Why are all these people here from diverse backgrounds? We have business contacts, we have doctors, we have scientists. Why are we here for a disease, for a very strange disease that many of you don't even know how to pronounce? My friend Stamatis Mollaris, who's a great supporter of us, and he's sitting back there, called me last night and he says, "Oh, what is the name of your disease?" Because I want to advise the minister who is coming. And you know, it's a miracle that he's such a great supporter, but he doesn't know the name of the disease. And if I tell you the name, the full name, it's not histiocytosis. It's Langerhans cell histiocytosis, just to confuse you even more. Anyway, so I want to talk about it. What is Nikolas? Why are we here? What have we done in the last 30 years, if anything? And so I want to welcome you all, not as scientists, as doctors, as business contacts, political contacts. I want to welcome you as friends, more than anything else. In what I consider, my wife and I consider to be a Nikolas Symposium family event, because we're a family. And for those of you who have been here before, you are in a Nikolas Symposium family reunion. Because Nikolas is not just a scientific meeting. It isn't. It is, of course. It is a very strict, by invitation only, basic science, speak and think out of the box kind of meeting, with one purpose: understand one disease, the histiocytosis. But it is not only that. Nikolas is also a social event. It's a social event not in the context of a fundraising gala. We're not in the New York Met comparing, clothes. But we very strongly believe that basic science, good scientific contact, scientific progress becomes better, becomes more relevant if it is disseminated to all the levels of society, from the patient, to the carer, to the nurse, to the doctor, to the enablers, people who make it possible for proper care to be delivered to our patients. And this could be our business contacts, and our political context. Today, the Minister of Health was supposed to be here. The Grand Lady of our Greek Parliament, Mrs. Kondogιάννη, was supposed to be here. And the Deputy Minister of Health was here. She has another engagement, and I thank Stamatis and Dr. Tsoukalas for inviting her. But unfortunately, there is a late vote in Parliament that everybody has to be there. So they might show up later on, but we need them. I need them because they help us do what I consider to be care for the patients at the end. So I want to acknowledge some of the people who are here tonight. First of all, I want to acknowledge my friend Simon Palios. He's a collaborator of mine. We're in it together. And we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the symposium, but I celebrate also the second year that he's free of COVID. And we all were very concerned about him. He's here, he's well, he's great, he's active as ever, and he's a great supporter. And I want to thank you very much. I want to also thank my other business partners here, and I want to acknowledge them so that our doctors who come from all over the world know that here we have some very, very good people who one way or another support us. And I don't want to forget anybody, but it's my friend Mr. Thanasis Martinos and his wife Marina, Stamatis Molaris and his wife Zeya, who is sitting over there, Mr. Efstathiou and his wife Semiramis. I was hoping that Mr. Papadimitriou would be here, but Dora, I think he's not, he hasn't shown up. Of course, one of the greatest collaborators to get on the same level with Simon is Stathis Tobouzou, right there. Stathis helps us where it helps us more. Not in developing the science, but looking after the patients. And that is extremely important for us. So, what have we done in the last 30 years? Please give me 5 minutes to reminisce. When I first came across this disease was about 40 years ago, when my son was born, Nikolas, and he was diagnosed with it at the age of 40 days old, I think it was. And the overwhelming feeling that I will never forget was fear, despair, and agony. I knew nothing about it. And until I met his doctor, Dr. John Pritchard, whom I think Barrett and Peter Beverly mentioned. And he was the personification of hope. We would not be here if not for his vision. My wife suggested that we dedicate this symposium to his brilliant vision. In fact, she insisted, so we do. Because none of us would be here. It is his vision. He thought of it. I feel that for the last 30 years, I'm nothing more than an agent for the realization of this vision. So what did John think about? How do we study a rare disease? How do you study something called histiocytosis X for unknown, when nobody cares about it? The governments don't know anything about it, hospitals don't care, pharmaceuticals don't care. So how do you study a rare disease like this? But who cares? A group of very few medical practitioners in certain centers in New York, in London, in Germany, that had to care because they had patients. They were referred to with patients who were dying on them. So, how do you bring them together? The first step is bring them together. Now, we are before internet, we're talking 1980. We are before the symposium became official, 10 years before it. How do you bring them together? How do you create the first nucleus of doctors that deal with the disease, create an esprit de corps? Now we did that. We achieved that. How do you then find the patients? You know, to do science, you need patients. Who are the patients? Where are the patients? So today, I can tell you that we have a patient association in almost all major countries in the world. In fact, the largest association, the Histiocytosis Association of America or North America, is a member of our Nikolas Symposium Steering Committee, because we always wanted to instill the science to where it belongs, to the patients. In fact, the executive director is here. Diane Fournier, she comes to become every year. In fact, she's a patient of histiocytosis as well, correct, Diane? Yes. How do you then mobilize the doctors? Then you have to create protocols to study the disease extensively. So we were pivotal, I think, in establishing the Histiocyte Society. The Histiocyte Society today has about 200 members. Michael, I think the president of the Histiocyte Society is an ex-official member of the Nikolas Symposium. Again, we want to bring science into where the care is. And then how do you bring the scientists? How do you bring them in? Virologists, cytokine experts, oncologists, molecular pathologists, and go and on and on. How do you bring them together over a period of 40 years? You keep them together, you make them understand the disease, and you create an international group of scientists to study this disease. We've done that. Examples. Peter Beverly spoke before. You know, I visited Peter about 1982, a preeminent immunologist. He was at the head of cancer research in the UK at Imperial College. And I went to him on my knees and I said, Peter, I need half an hour of your time every year. Peter never left. He came, he never left. He's here. In fact, I have good news for you. He got married with his longtime partner, Elma, who's also an immunologist. And they came to the symposium for the honeymoon. I think they will continue to go into the honeymoon. So congratulations, Peter, from all of us. And then we went on, we invited Cheryl Willman, and we decided that this clonality, and you go on and you add people. How do you bring people like Ralph Steinman in? Ralph is a Nobel Prize winner. He described the dendritic cell. He came here, he became a member of the Nikolas Symposium. He died practically in the symposium. He died before he received his Nobel Prize. How do you keep people like this? This is what we have achieved. How do you invite young people in? How do you perpetuate the race? You know, Martin Engel wrote me a letter and he said, what are you guys doing there? He was a young doctor then. He says, what are you doing over there? Can I come in? So he came in and he stayed as well. We have instituted something called the Pritchard Fellows. And we have two Pritchard Fellows here. What are the Pritchard Fellows? The Pritchard Fellows are people who are young doctors. They have an interest in the disease. We bring them amongst all these giants here so that they present their work and they stay with our disease. How do you convince the Greek Ministry of Defense and the Greek Ministry of Health to establish an adult clinic in Greece? We've done this. In this context, I want to acknowledge my good friend Thanos Dimopoulos, the Dean of the University of Athens. Now, the first time I met him, a year ago, histiocytosis was something that he read in his freshman year in medical school, and never again after. Now he's participating in the symposium. He's going to give a lecture for us today. It's not his subject matter, but he's part of us. And he was critical. Thanos is a great doctor, but he's even greatest because he brings his medicine to the people. He gets things done. So he was very much responsible in organizing an adult clinic in Athens at the military hospital. properly staffed. My friend is Makras, where's Joyce? Joyce, yes, with Joyce, fully staffed. We are, I think, the only place in the world, maybe, I think Astrid told me that they're doing something in Holland now, that will have an adult clinic of this disease. So, how do you bring Lori Glimser, the president of Harvard University in Greece? She came, and she gave us a great lecture. She's a good friend of ours now. She will be honored by the University of Athens next week, we've done that. So, and in the process, all throughout the years, what's the result? When my son was diagnosed, the mortality rate for young children with multi-system disease was in excess of 80%, close to 90%, a dire situation. Today, it's the opposite. We still have a lot to do, and we will. The dedication is here. So, Nikolas, as people before me said, is a symposium in the Socratic sense. I don't want you to come here and deliver a paper. I want you to come here to eat and drink, to argue and fight. Think out of the box for 3 days. And when you do that, you think about one thing, the Langerhans. That's what the Nikolas Symposium is all about. And I want to close. Nikolas is about real people. Peter said talked about his daughter. I'll tell you this. If we hadn't done anything for the last 30 years, nothing at all, no science, no meetings, and we had managed to save Leah, as we did, and make her a bright young woman who is starting to become a veterinary doctor now, that would be enough for me and my wife. The symposium also is about my son. Look at him. He didn't die, and he didn't get cured. He can hardly talk, he cannot swallow, he chokes. He understands everything, but he doesn't give up. And in not giving up, he inspires his parents, and I hope he inspires all of you. And I want to close also with a story that happened to me this year. I was eating in a restaurant with Nick, and it was cold. It was 3 months ago, freezing cold outside. And this young man approaches me, and he says, "Are you Mr. Kondogyannis?" I said, "Yes." And he started raving about how much great care his daughter has received as a result of the contacts that Dora and all our group has given to her in terms of the medical attention that we have been able to organize for her. I didn't recognize him, so I thanked him very much, and off he went. And when I finished my meal with Nikolas, we went out. And he was in the freezing cold. He was waiting for me outside with his wife and his little daughter. A tiny, puny thing. I think her name is Athena. And he introduced her to us, to me and Nikolas, and he said, "If something happens to me or your mother, this is your family." I'll tell you, that made my year. This is what the Nikolas Symposium is about, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope that all of us, as we go forward in this, we take the time to think that we could be the family for all the children around the world and all the adults around the world that suffer from this disease. And if you cut everything out, this is why we're here. And I thank you for your attention. Enjoy your meal. It's too late. And thank you, Barrett. Thank you very much.